folks, it's just about 1 o'clock, so probably invite people just to take a seat for a moment. And we have perhaps not our most important visitor, but is somebody we need to throw knowledge, which is Martin Rhodes from the Scottish Fairtrade Forum, who's come all the way from Edinburgh, and will be taking Charles back this afternoon. But this is our most important visitor, Charles. This is Charles Chavi, who's been travelling around talking about fair trade all for the last 10 days, I think. We're very privileged to have you with us here in Dumfries, and you come all the way from Malawi. So I'm not going to say any more and let you tell us about what life is like with you. So over to you, Charles.
Thank you all, and good afternoon. As you might have heard already, my name is Charles Chavi. In the picture, that's me and my fiancée. The other picture you're seeing, it's one of our farmers cycling to his field, and that's how some of our sugarcane field look like. I come from Malawi, and Malawi is in the southern part of Africa. In Malawi, I come from Kasintula, and as you can see, Kasintula is here. It's in the south. It's called Kasintula Cane Growers Association, where I work as administrator. Besides, my parents are also farmers, members of Kasintula. So I also get involved or take part in the production of sugarcane. We started with 312 hectares. Initially, farmers used to grow rice, but they stopped in 1997 because it wasn't profitable. So they went to the government, the chiefs, with their people, to ask the government to give them capital so that they could start growing sugarcane. So the sugarcane scheme was set up in 1997, and we started with 312 hectares. Then later on in 1997, we developed another 485 hectares. In 2010, we expanded further by 400. In 2012, we developed another 280 hectares. So in total, we have 1,435 hectares with 762 participating households. Yeah, so in the pictures, an example of some of our sugarcane look like. At the top there, it's a field that has just been cultivated and planted. And below it, these are some of the fields with sugarcane of about 2 months old. And in the picture, those are farmers. They are applying fertilizer to the field. So it takes about 12 months for sugarcane to grow, to be mature and ready for harvest. And as you can see, it grows tall. This is about 3 meters high. So in the picture, those are farmers excited that their cane is ready for harvest. When harvesting the cane, first of all, we burn it. The reason for doing that is to get rid of dangerous animals like snakes and to provide easy access to the field. So this is how cane looks like after it has been burnt. We cut it at the bottom, and then we put the cane in heaps and load them on the trucks. As you can see, this is one of the trucks that we use. And we transport it to the miller, which is about 28 kilometers away. At the miller, or at the mill, it's processed. It's crushed, squeezed, the juice is squeezed from the stick, and it's boiled, then it starts to crystallize, then it becomes sugar, ready for export. So when it's produced, it's exported to Europe, particularly here in the UK, because that's where we have a big market for our sugar. So when the sugar comes here, it's used in a number of products, as you can see in the picture. We became Fairtrade accredited in 2004. So for every ton of sugar that we sell, we receive about $60 as premium. So when the premium comes to the farmers, it goes direct into their account. We have what we call a Fairtrade Premium Committee, which was set up just to account for this money. So every quarter, the farmers come together and they are given a report on how much they have sold as fair trade. Then at that meeting, together in a democratic manner, they will decide what to do with the money. So this is an example of a meeting we had just recently. The premium so far has been invested in so many ways. We have invested it in socio-economic development projects for the communities. Part of it has been invested for projects for farmers at household level. We have also invested part of the premium back into the business. When we were developing the 400 hectares, we did that by a grant which we got from the EU. But to attract that grant, we are supposed to contribute 10%, which we did not have. So the farmers decided to use part of the premium for that. So as a result of that, we increased the number of hectares by 400, and we also increased the number of farmers by 200. The reason for doing that was to make sure that others should also have the benefits, or the benefits should trickle down to other members of the society. So this is an irrigation infrastructure called a pivot. It rotates in a circle of about 70 hectares, and in each circle there are 35 farmers. It's driven by electricity, so when it's rotating, it irrigates sugarcane. This was bought by Fairtrade because of the 10% contribution. We bought also 2 tractors. At first, we used to hire machinery from FES for some operations, because some of the activities cannot be done by hand. We need machines. So we used to hire, but the Fairtrade Premium Committee decided to use part of the premium to buy these tractors. So we used them for some activities, and as a result of that, the cost of production went down by 4%. This is an example of a field that was cultivated or plowed out using the 2 tractors I've shown in the previous slide. We also bought 2 trucks, and this is one of the trucks. It's used in a number of ways. Sometimes during meetings, when farmers have meetings, you see that it's used to transport them from their homes to the office. Sometimes during social events. Sometimes it's also used to transport seed from one field to another. Yeah. We built a school. As you can see in the picture, that's a full primary school from standard 1 to standard 8. We started with 200 students. We now have 700 students. Before this school was built, children used to walk a distance of about 8 kilometers to the nearest school. And as a result of that, most children could not go to school, or either they could start school very late at the age of 8 or 9. But because of this school, children can start school at the age of 5, 4, which is good. Not only that, we also bought computers, as you can see, and some printers, and we distributed them to secondary schools around Kasintula, about 3 secondary schools. Because of that, the schools introduced computer lessons. Now children can learn how to use a computer and how to be on the internet. We have so far dug 20 boreholes, as you can see. Before these boreholes were constructed, our farmers, as well as members of the community, used to go to the nearest river to draw their water. The water in the river is not safe, and it's also dangerous to draw water from that river because there are a lot of crocodiles. And for your information, one of our farmers 3 years ago was attacked by a crocodile. He lost his arm when he went to draw the water. But that has stopped, has changed, because farmers no longer go to the river to draw water because of fair trade. They have enough water in their communities where they can go anytime, and as you can see in the picture, one of our farmers so excited, so happy that she has access to clean water. We also put some taps in some communities, as you can see there. We bought bicycle ambulances, about 6 of them, and distributed them to communities. So the chiefs are the ones they are the custodians of these bicycles. When one is sick, members would go to a chief, ask for a bicycle, and a patient would be transported quickly to the hospital. Before this, farmers used to carry each other on their backs, which was not good. Pregnant women have also benefited a lot from these bicycle ambulances, because previously one would deliver while on the way to the hospital. That has stopped. When one is about to deliver, people can go to a chief, ask for an ambulance, and carry that pregnant woman to the hospital.
Well, we're really brave women to get on
I
that.
know. Ask Ken.
I don't think I would have got on that.
But it's better than walking. Okay, at the top, it's an example of some of the houses our farmers used to live in before fair trade. Made of mud and thatched roofs, but as you can see below, it's an improved house made of cement and collaborated iron sheets. And because of that, farmers also decided to bring electricity into their homes. They can watch TV, listen to the radio, and cook using electricity, and even children can study at night. That has been done by Fairtrade. At the moment, we are building a conference hall. You might have seen in my second slide, farmers used to sit under a tree whenever they're having meetings, which is not good. But with this hall, when it's completed, it will be used for such meetings. Not only that, but it can also be hired out for some activities like weddings, and that would be another way of generating additional income for the farmers. Something which is not in my slide, we also constructed a clinic, an under 5 clinic. We also extended a behavior clinic on behalf of the government, because where I come from, behavior is so common because of the water that comes from the Shire River. So as a contribution, the farmers decided to use part of the premium to extend the behavior clinic. Yes, however, despite the progress we have made, the projects we have implemented, we have some challenges. But one of the biggest challenge is the changes in the EU sugar regime, or the EU sugar reforms in 2017. When that is going to happen, it means we'll be competing with sugar beet farmers, and we cannot compete because sugar beet farmers are heavily subsidized. So in a way, that will push us out of the market, and eventually it will push our farmers back into poverty, because they will stop to receive the premium I've talked about, because we depend so much on the UK market, because it's a fair trade market. And as a result of that, if it happens, it means our sales will go down, we'll lose the market. So it's just an appeal to the Scottish government, British government, and UK shoppers to do something about our situation, perhaps to keep on buying fair trade sugar. Yeah, so buying more. Thank you so much.
Very, very much. Anyone's got any questions?
I've got a question. I'm not sure whether it's for Martin or for Charles. We've noticed in the last few weeks in our local supermarkets that the normal granulated white sugar has changed from being fair trade sugar into being another brand which is not fair trade and is actually produced from sugar beet. And do you have any insight as to why that's happened suddenly, and what we can...
I mean, is there a particular supermarket we're talking about?
Well, both Tesco's and Morrison's. Morrison's used to have big banners up saying we sell more fair trade sugar than anybody else. Those came down and the sugar all changed within the space of a week.
I mean, I don't know. They've obviously made a decision in terms of where they're buying their sugar from. I mean, there is obviously a price war going on between supermarkets. There is a race to compete, with many of the supermarkets are now racing to compete primarily on price. I'm certainly, you'll be aware of the difficulties that some supermarkets have been in terms of fall in profits in the recent years. So there is certainly a race to compete with regard to the lowest price possible. But that may well be, I don't know the reasons in particular, but in general, that's the context in which the supermarkets are currently trading. There is a fierce price war going on. They're seen in recent years, obviously coming in the discount supermarket chains as well, which has put greater pressure on the big established supermarkets as well. How they respond to that, I think, is down to how we as consumers keep the pressure up with regard to the choices that we say we want to make. If as consumers we send a message to supermarkets that what we're looking for is the lowest possible price at all cost, then they will respond to that. If we send a message that there is a group of consumers that are keen to ensure that their choices can be as ethical as possible within that system, they will respond to that as well. And we need to just make sure that we keep that message going.
We've got these here. You'd like to take one and use it. And if you feel strongly about this, and I do because I shop at Morrison's and I can't buy my white sugar from there. I'm not sure how I'm going to make jam this year. So but you can take one of these and hand it in to Morrison's or to Tesco's if you would like to do that, and it's a start. And the more people that do it, because for every person that does it, the supermarket will know that there are 20 or 200 people that didn't get around to doing it. So everyone...
And if they think they can change it without us noticing, then...
I mean, you've got to remember that supermarkets stocked fair trade products, started stocking them because of consumer pressure. They didn't do it because they felt this was, you know, something nice that they wanted to do. They did it, as is perfectly understandable. They're a business. They're there to sell products. They will respond to pressure from consumers in terms of demand for products. And that's why they started stocking fair trade products, because there was a demand there, because people made that demand known to them. So if they are slipping back, then we need to make sure that there is a voice again from consumers saying, we want you to continue stocking fair trade products. So, I mean, that sort of stock it campaign is still vitally important, because that's how we got the products there in the first place.
Yes. Yeah. So we kind of go, oi, you stopped. Bring it back.
So questions for Charles is comments.
Do you grow anything else on these fields? Is it sugar beet is it sugar cane every year?
Yeah, it's sugarcane for the 1,455 hectares. Yes, it's all under sugarcane production. But farmers have other small plots outside the state where they can grow other crops, particularly food crops.
You see yields going down then? Is it sugar cane every year?
Yes, yields have been going down, but last year has been one of our best years in 5 years, I think. So we are making good progress, trying to improve yields.
And has your part of Malawi been affected by the flooding?
Yes, where I come from, it's the area that has been hit hard by the floods. And further down, the situation was worse, because there are not only crops or livestock, but even people were washed away by the floods. But some of our farmers, yes, have lost their crops as well. And we had some standing water in some of the sugarcane fields.
When you grew rice, was it easier to grow rice than it was to grow sugar, or was it the same problems?
It was easier because one, the land was small,
Yeah.
and then there was a market for the rice, but then things changed. Rice ceased to be profitable. That's why they had to shift from rice production to sugarcane production. But yeah, at the moment I can say sugarcane is better than rice, because for your information, sugar is our second most important export commodity after tobacco.
When you have your meetings to decide what you're going to spend the premium on, are there many different views, or do people generally know what the community needs?
There are different. Obviously.
That's reassuring.
Yeah, so people have to debate. But then we used to have challenges then, but not now, because we are into the system. We've been there for some time now. The procedures which they have to follow. So normally they would meet in groups in their villages and maybe share ideas before the meeting. So at the meeting it becomes easier. Yeah.
Is it just hand vote like?
Sometimes secret ballot, hand.
So the people who form the meeting, where you decide that, are they elected by the people, the villages, or where they come from?
Yes,
they stand for elections.
They stand for election and they compete, they campaign.
Do they? Yeah. And is there plenty
It's
of
a
people
democratic
wanting to
process.
do that? Yeah.
Yeah.
Any more questions?
Do you actually consume a lot of sugar, or is it just purely export?
We consume.
Sweet.
I had
think he likes
3
sugar,
sugars
don't
this morning. So,
But it's an important point, because one of the things in terms of developing fair trade is to create markets within the developing world themselves and within producer countries for products as well. So it's not all just for export. It will always be, key export. We will want to import things which can only be grown in places with different climates to ours. But there is a move there are now 2 countries where we have fair trade producers, but also fair trade products on sale to their own home market, and that will be, I think, a growing area over the next decade or so in terms of fair trade.
Which countries are those?
I realised when I said 2 that I could only remember one. I was hoping that question. South Africa is one.
India's the other.
India's the other, right? Yes, thank you.
Somewhere in Central America as well.
Right.
The Dumfries Fairtrade Group are on Facebook, so if you're on Facebook, please like us. One of the groups that we like is, and see what they're saying, is the Fairtrade Group from India and South Africa. So it's really interesting to see their, as Martin says, their promotion of fair trade within their own country. Any more? Right. There'll be a chance for Charles isn't rushing away for his train quite yet, so a chance to ask him things more informally. But thank you for listening.
Can I just make one final plea to you in terms of the point that Charles made with regard to the change in the EU law, which is about lifting the cap on sugar beet production within Europe, which will be what potentially damages quite severely the sugarcane industry in the developing world. Is if you are interested in that, we will, and we'll be putting out through local groups, but there is a UK-wide campaign to contact your members of the European Parliament about this, that the Fairtrade Foundation has launched at a UK level. We'll be supporting in Scotland, and we'll be putting out through the network information about how you do that. But it's important that we raise this point and show that there are people here in Dumfries, here in Scotland, and across Europe who have concerns about this.
And if you want to be emailed about that, write your details on the sign-up sheet at the back, just and say EU sugar, and we'll send you that, because there's certainly there's very simple action. I did it this morning to email your members of the European Parliament. You don't even have to know what they're called. I have enough trouble with knowing my members of the Scottish Parliament. European Parliament, I haven't the hope. So, but yes.
Okay. The rest of us will see you later.